Have you felt like things around the world are changing quickly, but you're not sure how it will impact you? Get ready. A new crisis is coming, and it's going to affect everyone, from higher prices to global issues. This is something none of us can ignore. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into something big, an economic and political storm we haven't seen in over a century. We'll break down the three main factors driving this crisis and how it could shake up your everyday life. Let's get started. The crisis of money and debt. Let's break this down in a way that everyone can get. Money stuff can be tricky, but understanding the current debt crisis is essential because it's affecting all of us right now. So, what's the debt cycle? Think of it like this. The government needs money, so they borrow. But doing this repeatedly builds up debt, kind of like maxing out your credit card, but keeping on spending. The problem? Eventually, someone has to pay. To manage this debt, central banks print more money. Sounds simple, but there's a catch. When more money is created, its value drops. That's money devaluation, which leads to higher prices for everything. Groceries, gas, rent, but your paycheck stays the same.
That's the lowest year-over-year inflation since February 2021.
And here's where things get interesting. We're reaching the end of a debt cycle. Remember 2008, or even post-COVID? Back then, interest rates hit zero. What does that mean? It means borrowing money was basically free because the interest you had to pay was almost nothing. But that also forced governments to rely even more on printing money. It was their go-to solution, but the problem is that this can't go on forever.
2008 was a bad dream. It was a bloody year on Wall Street and a real capitulation for a system run amok.
Nearly 250,000 homeowners are in danger of losing their homes.
Why does this matter? Prices are rising, your money buys less, and that's the result of the debt cycle and money printing. The consequences? Higher costs, potential inflation, and even higher taxes to manage the debt. This crisis is here, and it's affecting your daily life. Growing wealth and political gaps. Let's dive into a big issue that's been around forever: wealth and political gaps. These gaps have led to major conflicts throughout history, and they're still causing problems today. Back in the 1930s and 1940s, the wealth gap was huge, and it fueled political unrest. The rich were thriving, but most people were struggling. This led to major shifts in power, with movements like communism and fascism gaining ground. Why? Because when the gap between rich and poor grows too wide, people start fighting for money and power. Fast forward to today, and the story isn't much different. The rich keep getting richer, while the middle class and lower income families are feeling squeezed. Income inequality is rising, and this is hitting home in real ways. Job insecurity, housing prices through the roof, and everyday costs like groceries and gas skyrocketing. It's tough to get by even with a steady job.
Seen as a good thing. It helps keep an economy growing, and it also staves off the threat of deflation.
But it's not just about money. The political divide is also widening. On one side, there's a push for policies that benefit the wealthy. On the other, people are calling for more support and fairness for the average person. This clash, which we saw play out during the COVID-19 pandemic, highlights just how divided we are. And when this gap widens, both in wealth and politics, history shows us it can lead to social unrest. The rise of global superpowers and the US-China conflict. Let's dive into something that's shaping the world right now: the rise of global superpowers and the growing conflict between the US and China. After World War II, the United States became the world's top power, not just militarily, but economically too. It set the stage for what we call the American century, controlling big institutions like the IMF and the World Bank, and helping rebuild Europe. For decades, the US was calling the shots globally. But now, there's a new player in the game, China. Over the past few decades, China's economy has exploded. It's now the world's second-largest economy and a serious competitor to the US. Whether it's tech, think Huawei and TikTok, manufacturing, or military strength, China's making moves. Plus, their Belt and Road Initiative is forming strong partnerships with countries around the world. China isn't just playing catch-up anymore. They're right in the race. So, what does this mean for you? Well, as these two superpowers clash, it's already affecting trade, technology, and even the stuff we buy. Remember the US-China trade war? Those tariff battles led to higher prices on goods, and that could be just the beginning. Think about the tech you use. There's constant debate over Chinese apps and hardware being banned in the US. This isn't just a political squabble. It could hit your wallet, your tech, and even the job market. So, keep an eye on this rivalry, because it's more than just news headlines. It's a real force shaping the future. The future. You know, when we talk about money, power, and politics, it's like a messy spaghetti dinner. Everything's tangled up together. Imagine this. Governments start printing money to solve economic issues. But guess what? That just piles on more debt. And what does that mean? A wider wealth gap that makes everyone squabble over who gets what. But wait, there's more. As if that wasn't enough, throw in the global power plays, like China rising up to challenge the US. Suddenly, we've got a real soap opera on our hands. One crisis leads to another, creating a wild domino effect. One push, and the whole thing comes tumbling down. So, what does this mean for us? It's time to pay attention. Being aware of how these economic shifts, political changes, and international tensions affect our daily lives is crucial. We need to stay informed, keep our finances in check, and engage in the political chat, because these crises are unfolding right before our eyes. Thanks for hanging out with us on this roller coaster ride through the chaos we're all facing. From the rising debt to that nail-biting US-China rivalry, we've got some serious challenges ahead. If this conversation sparked your interest, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's keep this dialogue rolling.